Hey everyone, welcome to the Reddit branch. Today we have interesting stories from Reddit that I would love to hear your opinion about. So feel free to let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for content like this every day. First story. Am I the a-hole for reporting a family for not telling me that their son was in the house while I was babysitting? Where I am, there is a babysitting service where people around the ages of 16 to 18 who cannot get a real job work for. I have the application on my phone and I get notified if the customer selects me for a babysitting session. I got a notification a couple of days ago and everything seemed fine. They had a fourth grader and they just wanted me to keep an eye on him. Their profile said that the kid was a bit unruly and talkative, but I was fine with that. What they didn't say on the app was that they had a son, not sure about his age, but young adult, maybe 19 to 21-ish, in the house I was going to babysit in. I wasn't allowed on the second floor, so I was in the living room with the kid. I was on my phone and I had a freaking heart attack when some random adult man about 6 foot tall and big just came from the stairwell to where I was. He didn't acknowledge me and he walked by and got some food from the kitchen and went back upstairs. I genuinely thought he was a home invader and I hit the kid before realizing he came from upstairs and he was wearing homeware, so he had to be family. He didn't do anything to me, but I was freaked out. I was literally in a horrible situation. I'm not saying all men are bad, don't get me wrong, because I, a 5'3", 16-year-old girl, was in an unfamiliar house with a full-grown big dude. Like, it's a classic get out of their situation. I had about 4 hours left and I didn't want a bad review, so I stayed there against all gut feelings. About 20 minutes or so later, I bumped into him again and he asked me, "Are you the babysitter?" I said yes, and he said I was allowed to use the second floor because the only reason I wasn't was because his parents didn't want me bumping into him, which already happened. I thanked him but stayed on the first floor. After the session, I was furious for the situation I was put in. I wanted to call them and tell them that was not okay, but I needed their review, so I shut up. Later on, after they reviewed me, I reported them for not being clear with me about the situation at home. I told my friends about this because I don't know why they choose a 16 girl to babysit their kid when they had a full-grown man in the house who seemed capable, and they told me reporting them was kind of a bad thing to do because 1, they would be permanently banned, and so I was denying the kid ever getting a babysitter. 2, I waited for reviews and I reported them. 3, the guy didn't do anything to me and he seemed harmless. Now I'm conflicted, but I have a 48-hour call back for a report, so I need to know, am I the a-hole? People replied in the comments with, "You're not the a-hole. I'm a 25-year-old woman and a random grown man appearing in a house I didn't know he was in would terrify me." While it may have just been a mistake on their part, they clearly didn't forget about him because of the whole second floor rule. I'm more inclined to think they didn't mention it because they know it would scare off most teen girls. Either way, you're not the a-hole. There are other babysitting services in the world and I'm sure they can find one. Okay, so I understand not making the relative/older brother babysit. I understand they probably did him a favor by keeping you out of his hair. However, the proper way to go about the situation would be for him to meet you beforehand to explain he will be here but not on a charge, so please just babysit the little one and he will stay out of your way. Call us if there is any problems. The parents suck for what they did to you. What if something did happen? You'd never have seen it coming. What if you did hear him and call the cops? How awful would that have been for the parents? Like, what were they thinking? You're not the a-hole at all. Now, for my personal opinion, the poster is 100% not the a-hole. An adult man just suddenly appearing in the house can literally cause a heart attack. The parents deserve what they're getting. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my brother for wanting to go on a trip? My younger brother goes to grad school about an hour away from where our parents live. The grad school he got into near our parents cost 4 to 5 more times than the state school he chose. He has to go to grad school in order to make decent money for his chosen field, which is physical therapy. His first year, he lived with our parents and drove to school. For the current school year, he asked if our parents or I could cover his rent if he found a relatively cheap place close to his school. He found a place with roommates for $625 a month, plus utilities. Our parents cannot afford to help though. I volunteered with the agreement that once he graduates and finds a job, he pays me monthly $200 until he pays back what he owes. I am lucky enough to be able to cover without much issue, willing to do it because it is to help further his education and career. Couple of months after he moved in, he messaged me asking if I could cover the utilities as well, since he was not getting much hours at his part-time job. I told him I do not get how he cannot even cover utilities, $100 a month, and he needs to figure something out because I only agreed to cover the rent. He needs to get better about planning things like this through. He cannot expect our parents or myself to bail him out due to poor planning or spending habits. Had him over to visit when it was unseasonably warm so we could hang out in the yard. We ate some food, had some drinks, and had nice conversation overall. He brought up that once things get better, he wants to go on a trip to Sweden and a couple other places with friends. I said that doesn't sound like a good idea since he doesn't know when he will get a full-time job, will have school loans, money he owes me, and possibly rent. As well. He said it will be fine, to which I said he needs to grow up about finance. He has gone on trips overseas before that he cannot really afford. That I never went on nice vacations until I could actually afford it, and he needs to think about these things before just doing it. I said it in a louder tone than I really wanted, but wanted to get the message across that he needs to be better about finance without expecting to be bailed out. For emergencies we are there for him, but should not be for self-made ones. He got defensive and said what does it matter if he can pay me back, and left a short while later visibly upset. I love my brother, but he has been enabled by our parents and by me a bit as well. I want him to do well, but not at our parent or my expense, and to be more reasonable with finances. Am I the a-hole for basically yelling at him about a trip he may not even end up going on? People replied in the comments with, I thought you're not the a-hole until I read the line that I never went on nice vacations until I could actually afford it. Look, I'm an older sibling as well and I have helped my family out in similar ways, so I get where you're coming from. But what I think is happening here is you would be jealous if you flouted responsibility and went on this trip while you lived a responsible life. It doesn't seem fair. You cannot measure your sibling's life by yours. That will always create conflict. Instead, if you want to help, you need to do so with a free hand and support your brother in the decisions he makes. He sounds like a relatively smart, well-reasoned person. If you're going to be angry, then don't help. Final thought, everyone sucks. Everyone sucks. You openly admit that you enable him, and he clearly lacks the skills to be financially independent. Perhaps instead of continuing to pay for his rent and getting upset about his financial choices, actually teach him or find a course online. Yelling at him is not going to help, and neither is continuing to fund him. He will never learn if he knows he has a safety net at all times. Now for my personal opinion, at first both of them seem like the a-holes. The posters seem to believe that the only way to grow up is to go through their identical struggles, and the brother seemed childish with how he handles money. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my wife to play Among Us with me? I, 62 male, and my wife has shared 39 wonderful years together, and I couldn't imagine a better person to be with. My grandson is really into video games and just had a birthday, so I asked my daughter what video games he likes, and he said his favorite right now is Among Us. I did some research and found a cool hoodie and toy to give him, and he loved them so much he asked if I would want to play the game with him sometime. I reasonably expected it to be a little kid's game or something I would just enjoy watching him play, but after one game together I was hooked. This was a month ago and I have not stopped playing Among Us since. Sometimes playing game after game for more than 10 hours. My wife hates that I spent so much time on this and got sick of me saying I played because my grandson liked it. She took my iPad to work one day and when I couldn't find it I called her and she denied knowing where it was. The whole thing sounded pretty suspicious to me, and when she got home, I found it in her car and we had a huge fight about spending time wisely and whether or not I was wasting my time playing this game because I enjoyed it so much. That Friday, I invited my daughter and her family over for dinner while my wife was at work for an Among Us party. We were all going to play the video game together so that I could spend some time with my grandson. And I was hoping if my wife played a few games, she would understand why I like it so much and stop getting on me for gaming all the time. She didn't say much upon finding everyone there, but when they left that evening, she was furious. She said it was more about the fact that I planned a gathering with no notice than it was about Among Us. But I noticed she didn't enjoy playing the video game either and called me childish, which felt like a huge attack on my personal interests and enjoyment. I wish she would just understand that I can have childish things to do in my free time and that my grandson and I have a connection over Among Us. But she is still mad I forced her to play at the party. Am I the a-hole here? People replied in the comments with, "You're the a-hole. Game after game for more than 10 hours? You are well past playing because your grandson likes it. There is no way your grandson is online that long without parental intervention. At this point, you're playing a game with total strangers and using your grandkid as an excuse." Unplanned parties in a shared house are another giant a-hole move. Getting obsessed with a thing and refusing feedback on your actions is childish. Failing to exercise self-control and make sure your life is reasonably balanced is also childish. It's not about the game or video games, it's about your behavior. You're the a-hole. You have been married to her for 39 years and this was a surprise? I'm there myself, 39 years with my husband. I don't play much now but have been known to. My husband has never had a controller or any kind in his hand. I play with the grandkids. I cannot imagine a situation where I would force or even attempt to ask him to play a video game with us. I know he hates it, he thinks it's a waste of time for anyone to play video games. Now for my personal opinion, Saposter is the a-hole. After all these years of being together, he does not think to tell his wife before he invites someone over. Also, being addicted to a game is not good, no matter who you play it with or how you justify your obsession. This concludes all the stories we have for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to share your opinions in the comment section down below. Until next time.